Portia and Trina go shopping for a frock for Portia's big date with Curtis later that evening. Trina understands her parents' relationship has been strained, and she is relieved they are reconciling. Portia wants this evening to be perfect. There are no more secrets between her and Curtis, so this should be a new beginning. Jordan makes moves. Curtis tells Jordan that her probable new home is outstanding, with high-quality construction. She is waiting to hear from her realtor about whether her offer has been approved. She tells him there's one more item she'd like to show him before taking him to the magnificent kitchen and stove. Jordan soon receives the call. The location is hers. They celebrate with champagne. When things become too close for comfort between them, Curtis decides it's time to leave. A romantic meal. Portia and Curtis finally have their romantic meal with a famous chef tasting menu. She appreciates his doing this for her, and admits she wasn't sure whether it would happen again. Sunny brings Donna home from swim lessons, and she requests pizza for dinner. Turner soon arrives and remembers Donna from the nurse's ball. The girl asks Turner to dinner and assures her that her father cooks the tastiest pizza. She accepts the invitation. After dinner, Sunny takes Donna to her room and gives her a movie to watch, and Donna expresses her feelings for Turner. "We have a little matchmaker in the works." Sunny quickly queries the acting district attorney about what brought her to his office. Turner wants to apologize to Sunny for how she treated him, and she admits she was too harsh on him. She does not want to be perceived as one of those slimy prosecutors who win cases by vilifying individuals, therefore she bases her decision on facts. Sunny tells her that he doesn't anticipate she'll receive any more anonymous gifts in the future. Not that she doesn't deserve them, but he believes no one will want to put her in an unpleasant situation. Drew doesn't understand the meaning of the word no. Tracy and Stella reconnect into each other at the Metro Court, decide to get a drink, and notice Drew and Martin eating dinner. Tracy refuses to be run off by them. Martin notices the women and expresses his dissatisfaction to Drew, questioning how someone as lovely as Stella could be friends with someone like Tracy. Michael and Wiley arrive after the boys' swim lesson, and Michael makes eye contact with Drew. Tracy tries to persuade them to go somewhere else, claiming that they have run out of hot fudge for the sundae Michael promised his kid, but Michael refuses to leave. Michael and Wiley get a table, and Stella complains to Tracy about Drew's courage for displaying his face in public after causing so much trouble. Tracy agrees. Stella questions why Tracy is assisting a man she despises with Measure C. Tracy admits it is to get rid of Sunny. Michael and Wiley get their sundaes, and Wiley informs his father that he believes Aunt Tracy is sad and misses Gio. Michael accepts and begs the boy to sit tight so he may speak with Aunt Tracy for a minute. Meanwhile, Drew tells Martin about how Michael is abusing Willow, and how hard she is working to get her children back. Martin warns him that Willow does not want his aid. Drew notices Wiley sitting alone and says he needs to show Willow how much she needs his assistance. When Michael notices Drew chatting to his son, he rushes over along with Tracy. Wiley cries out that his mother misses him and questions why his father won't let him visit her. Tracy finally comes to her senses and tells Drew that she is no longer assisting him with Measure C, that she is leaving, and that she will ruin him. Go Tracy! Tracy takes Wiley up to the pool at Michael's request. Drew doesn't understand why Michael is so angry, because all he did was tell Wiley the truth. His mother misses him. Martin attempts to draw Drew away, but he's like a dog with a bone, asking Michael when he'll stop lying to Wiley about his mom. Michael punches Drew in the face. Drew smirks. Yes, Michael did get played. Will Isaiah follow Felicia's advice? At the hospital, Isaiah seeks Felicia's advice on a personal problem that must remain confidential between them. He discusses in hypotheticals about Portia and Curtis' troubles, as well as noticing Curtis with Jordan, but does not name names. Should he reveal what he saw? Felicia suggests that he remain out of it. Isaiah adds that staying out of it does not imply leaving it alone, and invites Jordan to meet. Later, Stella comes to the hospital to check patient files with Felicia for a weekly review. She is furious after witnessing Drew attempting to influence a young boy against his father. Stella with Felicia, "You're fired." In their suite at the Five Poppies, Jasson informs the returning VAUGHN that she has snagged a hotel tablet off a maid's cart, which contains a precise map of where the tracker went dead. VAUGHN says he'll handle things from here, as she's been removed from the assignment. VAUGHN dismisses Jasson. VAUGHN tells her to stage a public spectacle, accuse him of infidelity, and book a trip home. That will explain why she is gone. Joss insists she can stay out of sight and avoid Britt, but Vaughn argues he doesn't need her and she's a liability. Joss storms out. Joss is astonished. Later, Vaughn sits alone in the room, staring at his wedding ring on his finger. A man appears at the door, carrying champagne and a revolver, which he conceals under a towel on the cart. The man enters, introducing himself as room service and offering compliments from the resort. He suddenly pulls out his firearm and Vaughn tackles him. Britt wants to play. Britt attempts to obtain Christopher Nash's room from a hotel clerk, but Pascal apprehends her and puts an end to her scheme. Pascal chastises Britt. Pascal reminds her that her employment comes first, and she has been instructed to remain away from the guests. It's his obligation to keep her focus while he's away. The most likely cause of Britt's resurrection is, here comes Jasson. Jasson arrives in Croatia, and a resort car picks him up. He soon appears and introduces himself to Pakel as John Moore. In the show's last moments, Jordan arrives at the hospital, and Stella excuses herself from Felicia to speak with her. She tells her that Marshall will be in town next week and asks if she may join him for dinner. That's when two agents appear, searching for Stella. They represent the New York State Department's Financial Services and Fraud Division, and have questions for her. Federal agents GH at dinner. Portia tells Curtis that she believes this is the first step toward getting back together. Curtis agrees, saying that this time they should do it correctly. They kiss and soon find themselves back in bed making love. Tracy is keeping Wiley occupied at the Metro Court pool when Michael arrives. He apologizes for ruining his son's Sunday, but Wiley claims Tracy got him a popsicle. Tracy speaks with Michael, who admits to giving Drew precisely what he wanted. He punched him. Oh, Michael, everyone wants to do that. Drew walks up beating on Sonny's door saying, "It's your congressman." Turner scares herself and hides so she cannot be seen, but she listens in. Drew rushes in and tells Sonny they need to talk about what he'll do for him. Otherwise, Michael will be arrested for assault. I wonder how DA Turner will react to this? She is obviously Sonny's next love interest. The text reads, "Subscribe to Soap's General Hospital newsletter. Get breaking news alerts, daily recaps, exclusive interviews, and spoilers delivered straight to your inbox. https://cloud@emailsoaps.com/sign up." Back at the Five Poppies, Britt passes by as Jasson converses with Pascal, and their gazes meet. Joss arrives to her room and discovers the assassin is attempting to strangle Vaughn. Super Agent Joss Jacks soon notices the killer's lost gun on the ground. She grabs it, squints, aims, and pulls the trigger. Jason Morgan stepped out of his sleek black SUV, his feet striking the ground with a deliberate thump. His leather jacket clung to his broad shoulders, and his piercing blue eyes examined the surroundings with predator-like accuracy. The Five Poppies, a modest yet sophisticated cafe located in the middle of the town's bustling waterfront, stood before him. Its ivy-covered front and softly flickering lanterns created an attractive atmosphere, but Jasson wasn't there for the ambience. He had business to attend to, and his instinct told him it wouldn't be easy. Inside, the bistro was alive with activity. The clink of wine glasses and the hum of discussion filled the air, broken by the odd burst of laughter from a corner booth. Waiters moved between tables, holding trays of handmade foods that smelled of fresh herbs and roasted garlic. Jason's gaze swept the room as he came through the arched archway, commanding attention with ease. Patrons turned their heads, some gently, some more obviously, as they noticed the calm intensity of the man who had just entered. He didn't care about the stares. His focus was concentrated, honed over years of managing danger and deception. Then he spotted her. Britt Westbourne. She was sat at a small table near the rear, her dark hair falling over one shoulder and catching the glow of candlelight. She donned a deep emerald dress that hugged her figure, highlighting her hazel eyes even from across the room. She was sipping a glass of red wine and moving gracefully but deliberately, as if she too was waiting for something or someone. The moment their gazes connected, the air appeared to move. It wasn't simply a gaze but a collision. Her lips parted slightly, and a gleam of recognition, perhaps even defiance, appeared on her face. Jason's jaw constricted. He hadn't expected her to be here. Not like this, not staring at him with that combination of challenge and fascination that always made his heart race. He went toward her, navigating through the maze of tables with the ease of someone who never doubted his actions. Britt didn't look away or flinch. Instead, she sat back slightly in her chair, crossing one leg over the other, her posture relaxed but her gaze focused. "Jasson," she whispered as he approached her table, her voice low, almost purring. "I didn't expect to see you here. Or are you only passing through?" Her comments had a mocking edge, but behind them was a current of something deeper, something unresolved. "I could ask you the same," Jasson said, his voice gravelly and steady. He didn't sit yet. Instead, he stood, one hand resting on the back of the vacant chair across from her, his gaze fixed on hers. The tension between them was apparent, a silent debate about history, choices made and unmade, and experiences that had left scars neither of them wanted to discuss. "Are you waiting for someone?" he inquired, his tone neutral but his gaze inquisitive. Britt tilted her head, a faint smile spreading across the corners of her mouth. "Perhaps I was. Maybe I still am." She took another sip of her wine, her actions slow and deliberate, as if she knew how much room she consumed in his mind. "But you are here now, so why don't you sit? Unless you intend to stand there and brood all night." Jasson's lips twitched, a trace of laughter penetrating his stern veneer. He took out the chair and sat, his actions precise and methodical. The bistro's hubbub receded into the background, and the world shrank to the distance between them. He leaned slightly forward, elbows resting on the table, hands clasped. "Britt, what's your play?" he inquired, getting right to the topic. He knew her well enough to realize she wasn't here by chance. Not at Port Charles. Not at the Five Poppies. And definitely not looking at him as if she was about to kiss him or throw her drink in his face. Her smile expanded but did not reach her eyes. "Always so direct," she whispered, putting her drink down. "What makes you believe I am having a play? Maybe I'm only here for the oso bucho. It's the greatest in town, you know." She leaned forward, matching his position and reducing the distance between them. Her voice lowered. "Or maybe I heard you were back in town and wanted to see if the rumors were true." Jasson's expression remained unchanged, but his mind raced. Rumors. Port Charles was a town constructed around them, where secrets were valuable and trust was a premium. He'd been gone for months, if not longer, wrapping up loose ends that had kept him from returning to his former life. But he was back, and the weight of that decision pushed down on him. Britt's appearance was no coincidence. She was too educated and calculated for that. "What have you heard?" he inquired, his voice low, testing her. She shrugged, but her eyes glinted with malice. "Oh, you understand. As usual. Jasson Morgan is back from the dead again. Stirring up problems, shattering hearts, the full 9 yards. She paused, her gaze sweeping over him, soaking in every detail. "You look good, however. For a dead man." He declined the offer. "You didn't answer my question," he continued, his tone neutral but stern. "What is your play?" Britt sighed and leaned back, her fingers tracing the stem of her wine glass. "Perhaps I don't have one, Jasson. Perhaps I'm just curious." She let the word hang in the air, thick with meaning. "It has been quiet around here. Too quiet. And then you show up and everyone starts whispering. I wanted to see for myself what was making everyone so upset." Jasson watched her, looking for the untruth. He knew Britt well enough to know that she always had an angle, even if she kept it close to her chest. But there was something else in her eyes, something softer, that made him doubt if she had as much control as she claimed. Before he could proceed any further, the waiter approached, a young man with a nervous smile who could sense the tension at the table. "Can I get you something, sir?" he inquired, looking between Jasson and Britt. "Whiskey." "Neat," Jasson remarked, not breaking eye contact with Britt. The waiter nodded and hurried away, leaving them alone again. Britt lifted her eyebrow. "Whiskey, huh? You aren't here to relax, are you?" "I don't relax," Jasson replied, his words sharp but not cold. This was the truth. Relaxation was a luxury he couldn't afford, not in this place and not with his lifestyle. Meanwhile, across town another game was taking place. Drew Kane sat in his Aurora Media office, where the sleek glass walls reflected the city lights outside. The room was silent, save for the low hum of the air conditioner and the odd ping of his phone. He leaned back in his leather chair, his fingers curled, his keen blue gaze fixated on the man standing across from him. Sonny Corinthos, the Port Charles kingpin, the man who had created an empire on devotion and fear, appeared to be backed into a corner rather than a monarch. Drew's lips formed a tiny planned smile. "You're slipping, Sonny," he remarked calmly but firmly. "Didn't you see this coming?" Sonny stood with his arms crossed and his dark eyes narrowed. He was dressed in his regular fitted suit, but his stance was tense, and his jaw tightened, revealing his anxiety. "Do you think you figured me out, Drew?" he murmured, his voice low and menacing. "Do you think you can just go in here and take what's mine?" Drew did not flinch. He'd been planning this for several months, if not longer. Every step, every interaction, and every transaction had led to this point. He had Sonny precisely where he wanted him, vulnerable, exposed, and a touch overconfident in his own invincibility. "I don't think, Sonny," Drew responded, standing now, his height providing him a tiny advantage as he walked around the desk. "I understand. You've been too busy playing the big man, throwing your weight around, to notice the earth changing beneath your feet." Sonny's lips twitched, but not in a smile. It was the expression of a man who knew he was being challenged and did not like it one bit. "You're playing a dangerous game, Kane," he muttered with a low growl. "Do you believe you can take me down? You're not the first to attempt, and you won't be the last." Drew leaned on the edge of his desk, his posture comfortable but his gaze alert. "I am not trying to bring you down, Sonny. I'm already there." He reached into his pocket and took out a small flash drive, holding it between his fingers. This is everything. Your trades, contacts, and small side hustles you thought no one knew about. All of it right here." Sonny's gaze fixed on the flash drive, and his mask slipped for a second. There was a flash of something, fear perhaps or wrath. But he recovered swiftly, and his expression hardened. "You're bluffing," he muttered, but his voice wavered slightly, revealing a fracture in his armor. "Am I?" Drew inquired, his tone almost casual. He tossed the flash disc onto the desk, causing a small clatter. "Go ahead. Take a peek. But I'll warn you, Sonny. It's not just your business on there. It is your family. You have kids. Everything you've worked to safeguard. One wrong move, and everything comes crashing down." Sonny remained still. He stood there, fists clasped at his sides, breathing steadily yet deeply. Drew studied him, calculating and waiting. He recognized Sonny's pride as his vulnerability, his desire to dominate everything around him. Drew had spent months exploiting that weakness, gathering intelligence, forming friendships, and waiting for the ideal opportunity to strike. Now here it was. Sonny was cornered and Drew had all the cards. Back at the Five Poppies, Jasson and Britt's tension was reaching a fever pitch. The whiskey had arrived and Jasson took a leisurely drink, never breaking her gaze. "You're not here for the food," he remarked, placing the glass down. "And you aren't here for me. So Britt, what is it? What do you want?" She leaned forward again, her voice barely audible. "Perhaps I want what I've always wanted, Jasson. A way out." Her words hung between them, full with meaning. She wasn't only talking about Port Charles the cafe, or their long-term relationship. She was referring to something larger, something neither of them could exactly name. Jasson's demeanor did not change, but his thoughts were racing. A way out. It was a dream he'd had once or twice, in quiet moments when the weight of his decisions felt too much to bear. However, such dreams did not survive in Port Charles. Not for individuals like them. "Do you think you can just walk away?" he inquired, his voice low and almost compassionate. "Do you think it's that easy?" Britt's smile faded and for the first time she appeared vulnerable. "No," she replied softly. "I understand it's not. But I also realize I'm tired of running. I'm tired of looking over my shoulder. Aren't you?" The question struck him harder than he anticipated. He reclined back in his chair, his eyes drawn to the amber liquid in his glass. Tired. Yes, he was tired. Tired of the slaughter, betrayal, and continual vigilance. But he was also Jasson Morgan, and walking away was not in his nature. Not yet. Before he could react, his phone vibrated in his pocket. He dismissed it at first, then it buzzed again, insistent. With a small frown, he took it out and looked at the screen. A single text message from an unknown number stated, "Trouble at Aurora. Get here. Now." Jasson's jaw constricted. He didn't know the number, but he recognized the tone. Trouble in Port Charles was never minor, and Aurora meant Drew. He returned his gaze to Britt, who was intently observing him, her expression unreadable. "I have to go," he replied, standing up. She did not try to stop him, but her gaze followed him as he approached the door. "Be careful, Jasson," she yelled after him, her voice soft but forceful. "This town has a way of eating its own." He didn't say anything and didn't look back. But her words echoed in his head as he stepped back into the darkness, the cool air smacking his face like a warning. Port Charles was a powder keg, and something told him it was going to explode. Across town, Drew was still standing by his desk, the flash drive between him and Sunny like a loaded rifle. The hush grew dense with implicit warnings. Finally, Sunny spoke, his voice low and threatening. "Do you think you've won?" he stated. "Do you think this little stunt gives you power over me?" Drew's smile did not waver. "I don't think, Sunny. I know." He took a step closer, his voice lowering to a near whisper. "You have two choices. Work with me, or watch everything you've built burn." Sunny's eyes flared, but he remained motionless. He was a man who craved control, and he currently lacked it. Drew knew it, and he relished it. It wasn't simply about business. This was personal. Years of bitterness, living in Sunny's shadow, and being the good brother while Sunny played the king had all contributed to this moment. Drew refused to back down. The office door flung open and Jasson entered, his presence like a storm cloud rolling in. His gaze shifted from Drew to Sunny, soaking in the situation in an instant. "What is going on?" he inquired, his voice calm yet firm. Drew turned to face him, his smile hardening. "Just a little business meeting," he remarked, his tone light but his eyes icy. "Okay, Sunny?" Sunny did not respond. His eyes was fixed on Jasson now, and a silent inquiry hung between them. Jasson didn't know the specifics, but he didn't have to. He knew Sunny, Drew, and what game they were all playing. And he was certain that whatever was going on here was merely the beginning. The night went on, the stakes higher than ever. Alliances were shaky in Port Charles, secrets were lethal, and no one escaped unharmed. Jasson, Britt, Drew, and Sunny were all participants in a game with no obvious winners, only survivors. And as the clock approached midnight, the distinctions between friend and adversary blurred, laying the groundwork for a reckoning neither of them could avoid. The story progressed, with each moment filled with tension and possibility. Jasson's homecoming triggered a chain reaction, and the waves were spreading. Britt's enigmatic comments stayed in his head like a problem he couldn't solve. Was she an ally, an adversary, or something else? And Drew, his brother and rival, had crossed a line tonight that may change everything. Sunny, for all his power, was on the verge of defeat, but men like him never gave up. Jasson drove through the darkened streets, feeling the city's pulse beneath him. Port Charles was alive and restless, a beast ready to strike. He had no idea what was coming, but he knew one thing. He was prepared. For Britt, Drew, Sunny, and whatever this town throws at him next. Because in Port Charles, survival meant more than just keeping alive. It also meant remaining one step ahead. The 5 poppies receded into the distance, their warm lights contrasting sharply with the frigid reality of the outside world. Britt sat at her table, her wine glass empty, her mind a jumble of regret and determination. Drew stood alone in his office, the flash drive still on his desk, a symbol of the authority he had worked so hard for. And Sunny was already plotting his next move, his mind a chessboard with each piece representing a weapon. The night wasn't finished yet, and at Port Charles it was when the actual game started.